first grew curious about the paranormal? Dare you dig deeper? You are listening to House of Asher.
And welcome everybody to this episode of House of Asher. It's been a minute, but I tell you, between my jobs, plural, and all the things that comes with setting up a new little studio, a new little base, a new little life, sometimes it can kind of be somewhat daunting and complicated and time-consuming, and oh dear Lord, such an adventure though. You learn a lot about yourself and trying new things, and here we are. I should probably say, first off, right off the jump, and I can't express this enough, the folks at Paranormal Radio Network, or at the UK, let's try this again, the UK Radio Network, which is the Paranormal UK Radio Network, at www.paukradio.com. Again, that is www.paukradio.com. That is sort of the flagship that carries me from my small little town here in western Kentucky to all the corners of the globe, be it a hut, be it a igloo, be it possibly a cardboard box. Who knows where you're living and what your life is bringing you right now, but in all ways it's an experience. And I do want to say thank you guys for coming here and listening to my rap, as I like to call it. What we're doing today is, we know that Halloween is just around the corner, and it is right around the 25th of October, so it's coming fast and hard. In the western part of the world, it's funny. Death is handled differently. I believe it's easier when you mask it up with candy and parties and songs and different festivities. It's a little bit easier to swallow. Obviously, you have a whole lot of different cultures which face this type of the concept of death, and even some people can connect death with evil in the paranormal, which I can see that. But sometimes death is a release for some. Sometimes it's an end to a very painful life. And so I'm a little bit more dualistic in the way I look at things. But anyway, one of the things I was kind of thinking about was the concept of, well, what most people would consider the root of paranormal, or not so much the paranormal, but the root of the occult, which is like a kind of a nearby cousin of the paranormal, which is a nearby cousin of anything touching on the demonic. We look at demons. Now, I want to go on record, I am not everything's a demon guy. You know, your lights are going to flutter. That doesn't mean it's a demon. It could just be shoddy wiring. It could be a storm that's down the way. But throughout the eons, people would always connect strange things that they can explain with the weather. Maybe their goat Bessie was not giving milk. Maybe it developed some sort of cyst or something in its udders, and now it's giving bloody milk. Well, it has to be a witch, doesn't it? It has to be a demon. It has to be some form of scapegoat, some sort of everything has to have a connotation of evil or malevolence to it. It is just the nature of certain faiths. But I mean, if you go back to pre-Christian, you know, the words that come up, that's more or less, at least in that aspect of the world, with connections to demons. Of course, you would have Daemon, like Daimon from the Greek, and which really means more like a deity or a genius or a knowing spirit. There was no real, there was no real oogie boogie. They're coming to connect your kid, collect your kid. They're coming to, boil your baby down into some sort of flying potion and all that. Man, I'm telling you, medieval times definitely brought us some interesting, if you want to call it that, connections to magic. And anyone who's studied things like old school magic, what people would call old school. I know people who practice what they call classic British magic, and maybe if you're listening right now. And then you have some that connect more to earlier shamanistic type things, be it from the Caribbeans, be it from Nordic cultures, be it from just wherever. And everything has different connotations. It wasn't until later when we had, in Middle English, when we had the word demon come into there, is where it got really, really kind of funky. Once Greek kind of melded in with Latin, and then you got daemon, which is more or less a lesser or evil spirit. That is really when things kicked off in the concept of, this thing here is affecting us. This formless, eternal, although maybe not particularly strong, but a very well-knowing, a very intellectually superior to humans entity is there, and they're gonna supposedly play with your head. Now, as we get dealing with the terminology and stuff with the demon, people see these as supernatural beings, almost always associated with evil. And it's almost, they're prevalent so much in religion, literature, fiction, mythology, folklore, and even up to now where it touches on video games and television series. I mean, you can only have to look at something like, well, the show Lucifer, Supernatural, things like that. You have all these different things that kind of still keep air in that balloon as it was, and you're going to have, again, from the ancient Near Eastern religions and the Abrahamic traditions, all this stuff gets it into the concept of demons, demon possessions, exorcisms. It's trippy. I mean, even if you look at Greco-Roman magic, Jewish Agada, and Christian demonology, it's a thing that can be, if you know the right ways, the tells, the symbols, its rules, that you can conjure and control some of these things. And that was what's so interesting. You have this formless, powerful being, but if you form this circle and you say these words and you recant this chant, you, for a while, have control over this being and can ask questions, get knowledge from it, and or prescribe it certain actions, certain duties, if you will. And not to say that there's not a cost. I mean, you can look at the story of Faust and things like that. There's always hell to pay, and if you'll pardon the expression, that you will get what you get when you play with certain dark things. I personally think that's sort of the natural way of it. I think there are probably spirits out there that know things. I mean, if you have an ancient leader, so you have something that was connected to, say, the Roman Empire before that, or the Byzantine period, you're going to have things that have seen tons of battles, seen tons of human nature, And they know how to use that. I mean, if you believe in the existence of these creatures, they know the beast which is human, the beast which is man, and it will give us enough rope to hang ourselves. It's interesting to me that demons have the same kind of I don't want to say faults, but there's demons of, like the demon of gluttony, the demon of whatever, jealousy, whatever. Everything that makes us human is connected to these creatures. Are these creatures the reason that we have all this? Are we the reason by adding our own personal foibles and things to these type of creatures that they now are relegated to certain abilities and negative aspects? I mean, there's tons of stuff. If you look of things like, just the ancient Egyptians, that their demons could be basically in two different classes. Okay, some might be guardians, and they're tied to a specific place. There's demonic activity. It has a function. It can be benevolent toward different people with a secret knowledge how to face them. Okay, demons a lot of times will reprevent human souls from entering paradise, the ones that are there to pay for their supposed sins. Okay, and again, only by knowing certain charms and things like that are they able to enter the halls of Osiris. Now, you have other ones, the wanderers. Now, these type ones might be connected with death, plagues, mental illness, possessions, different type of blights that may fall on a community, a family. If you've ever heard of people talking about, this family had a curse upon them. And nowadays people think this is like something almost comical to a simpler time, gypsies and things like that. And people, I'm not saying well gypsies are simple. What I mean is people will go, there's a stereotypical cookie cutter mentality connected with this stuff, and it's just it depends on where your mind is and where your I don't want to say your heart, but you are going to feel certain things as true, and you're going to feel certain things that are not true, and that is what's going to happen. You have to look at these things as, is it folklore? Is it purely an invention of man? Or is this something that's ageless and timeless? You can look at different, even earlier things like with ancient Sumerians and different sort of cylinder seals and things like that connected with gods being, tortured in the underworld. The Gala demons and things like that. This has gone on a long time, and we've really been kind of holding on to some of this really, really ancient stuff. And see, that's what's so crazy. There's you must have this freaky vibe when it comes to even the look of demons and things. The Malashtu, was a demonic goddess. Had the teeth of a donkey, head of a lion, naked breasts, a hairy body, hands stained, I'm assuming with blood, long fingers and fingernails. And just, I'm assuming like a cloven hoofed type thing, which you gotta remember, a lot of the concept of the modern Satan or Lucifer or whatever, and people go, no, Lucifer and Satan and the devil, they're all the same thing. It's because, no, these are completely different. You got, Mephistopheles and all these various ranks of demons. Even Pazuzu had a lot of animalistic type of aspects, extremely canine face with bulgy eyes, which probably mimics man, the face of a dead person, kind of like Kali with the exposed, bulging blue tongue, blue skin. As you know, people die; they start to break down. One of the things that swells up in their body is their tongues will swell out of their mouth. And Pazuzu also had a scaly body and a snake-headed penis, talons of a bird, and wings. It's one of these things. But he was connected with the god Hanabi, which is really strange. Some see him as evil, some see him as good. Some protected against the pestilence, some of his abilities, but then some said not. The whole concept of, Lilith and protective little things, amulets and rattles, and you give your kid a lullaby. It all builds from this. We are so still knee-deep in timeless tradition and folklore and just kind of almost bizarre superstition. And it's so funny because, it's like, hey, look at this, I got this 5G, this and that, and, wow, I'm doing this and that, and I'm able to do my business stuff on whatever, Zoom or Skype or whatever, and, my company's a Fortune 500 company, and this and that. I knew a guy, I won't mention his name, he was so weird about superstition. He opened a store. He had at the time he had, I think, 13 stores. Well, obviously, the first one was, let's say it was Jones Gas 1, Jones Gas 2, Jones Gas 3, and the following numbers would go up until you got to 13. Now, you would think any modern, intelligent, well-rounded guy would name it 13. No. He gave it the name the 14th Jones Gas. That's a fictitious name. But he was so held to the paranoia and the weird superstition that 13 was an unlucky number, which kind of goes back to the St. Valentine's Day massacre and all this stuff. And even further back, I believe, it may have been, oh my gosh, the Holy Warriors in the Crusades, those guys, and then supposedly the Pope had them all killed. I think it was on Friday the 13th, I believe is when it was. So anyway, I'm sorry, I apologize, I lost my place. But what is so funny is that we still, to this day, do this, and we still, to this day, hold to a certain tradition. I'm as guilty as anybody. If I hear somebody is doing very well, or they're trying to go out for a new job, or, hey, the Joneses are getting ready to have their first child. That's wonderful, and I'm sure everything's going to go well, and I'm going to come right over to whatever I can find that resembles wood pattern, anything, and I will go, knock on wood. And that is ancient. This takes us back to the time of Druids. And here I am in the 21st century over here, tapping on wood. I will also admit that if I spill salt, I will toss it over my shoulder. Now, does that mean I'm going to freak out and not walk under a ladder, or I'm going to, if someone dies, I'm covering mirrors and things like that, which goes back to a lot of early religions and the power of scrying and the power of mirrors and the power and influence of your duplicate image. That's a whole nother show. But what I find fascinating is that you can have someone, and I'm not judging, go to mass, go to temple, go to mosque, and sing praises of entities that they swear are true. Completely plausible, completely normal. It's completely legitimate. And maybe you bring up certain things about King Solomon and the keys of Solomon and some of the different things that supposedly would connect you to this. Demons more or less were like the Ask Jeeves or the Google of the ancient world. You know, you can even go up through guys like Crowley, and they will swear that, you know, they could get in touch with different things, you know, different creatures, you know, a Sog and Galu and different type of demonic things. And that's the thing. Some people don't want you even saying that. You know, please, oh gosh, don't say this, don't say that. Don't call this name. What's the old expression? Speak of the devil and he will come, or he will soon appear. One or the other. You know, I'm paraphrasing. But it is a real trip. It is a real trip. And it ties all in with Halloween, because that all started out as a way to appease spirits. It all started out as a way to try to maybe even mimic. You know, there's certain creatures in nature that will take on certain attributes to mimic their predators. Or maybe birds on the back of their wings will have a pattern that looks like eyes that will make, you know, predators think that it's a giant head of something, and it stays away from them. It is very weird. It is truly weird, and but we find this all in nature. So, wants to say maybe there aren't demons out there. Wants to say that they are not part of the natural order. You know, you see things repeat itself in history. You talk about like sacred geometry and how certain patterns repeat themselves over and over and over in nature. Maybe that's not just true in the physical world. Maybe that's also true in the spiritual world. I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think, because there's a lot of very learned people out here that listen to the show. And I probably should have also mentioned that you may be listening to this on YouTube. You may be listening to it on Spotify, iHearts, iTunes, SoundCloud. Just a buku, you know, amount of different little places that carry this. And I'm very thankful for that. I do most of my recording through Spreaker, and I like it. It's a pretty simple app, easy to use, and I'm in complete control of this. If I want to do a show talking about demons, I can do it. I want to do a show on, I don't know, albino midget clowns, you know, fighting naked on top of a mountain. I can do it. Maybe that'll be the next show. I don't know, maybe not. But Halloween, to me, is nothing to be scared of. To me, it is a time to embrace that side of yourself that we a lot of times push down. I think we all have positive and negative elements. I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to call it positive or negatives. If you look at things like Wicca and various beliefs, dualistic beliefs, you have a sacred feminine. You also have a male. Sometimes that is a stronger or more intuitive. Maybe the one, you might have another that's a little bit more physical. I hate to describe male or female attributes and say, well, this one thing is female, this one thing is male. I think that's an outdated mode of thought. Because I have daughters and I have sons, and some are very deep feeling. Especially the boys, something that's a lot of times connected to a feminine trait. And then I also have very strong-minded daughters. I jokingly say I did not raise daughters. I raised shield maidens, and sort of an oldenistic joke. But they're very strong-spirited. They're very, they know what they want. Let's just say that. Sometimes they listen to their pop. Sometimes they do their own path, and all I can do is wish them well. And that's one of the hardest things to do in regards of anything. Children are not robots. They're not there to placate you and to live out your dreams. They're there to live their own. But that was one thing I always taught my children is like, look, there's positive and there's negative. There's light, there's dark. There's left and there's right. It doesn't always mean that it's right or wrong. There are certain core things I feel are right or wrong. And certain things that are maybe situational. You definitely wouldn't want to murder somebody, but you definitely are not going to have somebody come in and murder your family, which has been oftentimes put off on demonic activity. My God, look at the Amityville story. We were sitting there going, oh, well, there was a thing in the house, and it come to me, and it kept telling me, pull that trigger, kill, kill, kill. And it, if you look at certain stories, the guys of, the first movie of the book, you may have read the book, but the first movie I think was pretty good. Even the second movie that had to do with Hans Holzer and mediums and all that. And say what you will, I liked Hans Holzer. I loved his books. He got me a lot deeper into where I am now. Which also had the lovely Diane Franklin in it, which I love her to death. She's a sweetheart. I wish her well. But Halloween, make it what you want it to be. Embrace it for what it is. A momentary break in sanity. Enjoy the madness is what I'm saying. And don't be scared to, open yourself up within reason. And let aspects of yourself out. Embrace certain aspects that, you may not allow yourself in certain times of the year. There's a lot of cultures that do this. And when you do this, it seems like it's like a bit of a pressure break. And then you can kind of go, okay, I got my yayas out. And you can kind of keep going without having to grit your teeth every friggin' day until next Halloween. And I know a lot of people that count the days. I'm one of them. I love Halloween. I try to embrace Halloween every day. That's not to say I hate Christmas or any other holidays. Halloween is my day. I was a monster kid. I'll continue to be a monster kid. I'll be a monster grandpa, I guess. And, I can't wait to be that old weird guy that knows everything about Halloween and, the paranormal. But he always makes, he always has the best stories and has the best candy. You always want to be the house with the best candy. Just because kids will love you. I still remember people that gave me good candy when I was a kid. A little kindness does go a long ways, and it keeps the little goblins from coming back and egging your house. So it's a good investment in that. And also, they're less likely to hold it against you when you're older. So it's a wise investment. Get the good candy, people. But by the sound of that music, it is time to start winding down. So I want you to go out there and enjoy the rest of your day. Get some sun on your face and have a good time, no matter what part of the world you're in. But as the sun sets behind the pines and the shadows grow long, make sure to check down your back room, your closet, under your bed, and out that back hallway into the deep wood. You never know what's there. Perhaps it's something demonic. Perhaps it's, just some kid in a COVID mask dressed up as Dr. Giggles. Hook them up, give them some good candy. But I love to everyone. Don't be afraid to be afraid, because there's knowledge in fear sometimes. So until next time, my dear friends, stay scared. And happy Halloween, everyone.